Okay, so he gave you 15 minutes and said, I want discovery, objection handling, all that stuff.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Okay, and in response to that, you just feel like you just fired off questions at him to rush to get to it, but you still didn't get there.
Like, kind of, yeah. I was nervous. I'm not gonna lie, But
Mhm.
so he said, like, the main
Now,
feedback he gave me was the tone, very monotone. Then I missed the ICP part. So, like, what's his ideal client? Like,
mhm.
I missed that part. And then in the cost of inaction, like, it didn't land that well.
Do you feel like you were just firing questions and didn't hit those things because of the time constraint or the nervousness, or maybe a bit of both?
I would say a bit both, but more of kind of like the time constraint.
Okay, so it's more of the time constraint. So dealing with the time constraint, what's a better way you could have dealt with that?
I don't know. I'm not sure.
Anyone have any ideas? How would you deal with that scenario?
I don't know. It seems like 15 minutes to get all that information, like to do all that, seems like a very short time.
Yeah, I agree.
I would, I would, like, I'm not a closer or anything like that, but to be able to do all that and discovery, I would have like said, like, man, it's not enough time, like, to actually do it properly.
hmm So what do we do?
You book them in for another time when they're more available?
Well, this is a interview, right?
I mean, if it was real though, and like
Realistically,
I
sure,
call,
but what do you do in this scenario where you're on an interview and the interviewer is asking you to do a role play? They want to see everything. They want to see discovery, want to see objection handling, but they're like, "Hey, this interview is only 15 minutes." What would you say? What would you do?
Suppose you can ask what their priority is. What matters to you most given the time frame that we've got?
Hmm.
Absolutely. Best thing, the only thing I would do in that scenario is just communicate. And I would say, hey, listen, my discoveries typically I like to go in detail. I like to probe. I like to ask questions to really discern what the problem is. Usually not something I'm able to get through in 15 minutes. So can I clarify? Are you looking to just see if I understand the structure by asking the basic questions and seeing how I handle a couple objections? Or do you want me to show you a full discovery of how I'd actually do it on a call? Clarify.
Mm,
And then
yeah.
let them tell you, well, and maybe they didn't even consider, right? Who knows why they're saying that, right? Maybe they didn't even consider the time, you know? And usually what will happen in that scenario is they'll be like, oh, yeah, you're right. This isn't enough time, you know?
So what
And
he told me after was that, like, if it's a green light, he said, like, okay, now the next one is gonna be a 40-minute call that you
Mhm,
will have time to do everything
exactly.
properly.
Exactly. So that means that there's something he's looking to see within a 15-minute time frame that gives him a green light. So I always say people will tell you what they want if you just ask. Like, just ask him what he's looking to see within a 15-minute time frame and go from there. It's just like, again, you're showing the traits that a closer would show on a call. Because at the end of the day, if I'm on a sales call, I'm asking questions like, well, what type of support are you looking for? Why? So that I can see if what I'm pitching aligns with that type of support and present it in a way
Mhm.
that shows that alignment. People will tell you how to sell them. People will tell you what they're looking for. People will tell you these things if you just ask. So if you run into a snag like that on an interview, just straight up ask, like, hey, even like, let's say you pass a first interview, whether it's group, whether it's one on one, and they say, hey, the next interview is going to be a role play. Even right then and there, I would say, hey, what are you looking to see on that role play? What are some of the things that you want me to emphasize?
Mhm.
Does the team struggle with handling certain objections that you want me to showcase? Are you guys really focused on a solid, deep, in depth discovery? What is it you're looking to see? They'll just tell you, and then you do it, and then you pass the interview. you know,
Yeah.
the biggest thing is don't just assume, okay, he's giving me 15 minutes. He said to do a role play. Now I've got to make the decision on what I'm going to fit into this 15 minutes to hopefully attract and get that green light and get his attention here.
I kind of asked him in the beginning. I said like, okay, so you want to see like the full discovery with future pace and consequence, or just like kind of like the first 10 minutes of like what's the
Mhm.
problem, the goal, and everything? He said, yeah, I just run everything.
And if you're on a sales call and someone's pretty much asking for something or saying they want something that's nonsensical, that doesn't really
Mm.
align, what do you do as a closer?
What do you mean if they say like something completely out of topic?
Not necessarily out of topic, but they're saying two things that don't necessarily align. What would you do?
I would ask them like why they say that. I don't know.
Well, you challenge it.
Yeah.
Right? If they're saying things that don't align, you challenge it.
But like don't
Just-
align in which way? Don't align
Well,
with
what
what
he's
I'm
asking you for
providing
doesn't
them.
align. What he's asking you for doesn't align because he's saying, I want to see the full everything discovery, and I'm giving you 15 minutes. Those things don't align.
Mm.
So you either challenge it or you clarify. When things don't make sense, you either challenge or clarify, right?
Yeah.
Because again, it's all about hyper curiosity and discovering, so that I never have to assume. You shouldn't assume anything on calls. I'm never going to assume your intentions. I'm never going to assume why you're doing something. I'm never going to assume anything. So I'm just going to ask. It's the same thing, just like on a call. Does that make sense?
Yes. Thanks.
Cool. No problem. So, Lewis, James, is this your guys' first time on one of these calls?
Yeah. First
Yes,
call.
sir.
Awesome. Welcome. Well, pretty much these calls are just like open Q&A. Sometimes we do like call reviews, profile reviews, intro video reviews, but it's usually just question and answer. Here to support for the hour, whatever it is you guys need. So yeah, let's open it up. What do you guys want to cover today? What questions do we have?
Awesome. Well, thank you for having me. I actually have a second stage of an interview with a pipeline company. I'm just looking to book that right now, but I had my first group on Thursday last week. I would say it went pretty well. I only got maybe like a minute or two of screen time. And I'm coming from a real estate background, so I'm not really experienced at like what recruiters are going to be looking for in terms of interviews, questions, skills. So any kind of general advice on that would be great.
Yeah, it really just depends. Each interviewer has obviously their own ideologies for what they're looking for. But if we're talking general,
Mhm.
I'm sure you already know some of this stuff, but energy is a huge portion. They're looking for, actually, I don't even want to say energy. I want to sum it up as communication skills,
Okay.
which would encompass good energy, good cadence, good tone, natural, slight, hints of excitement. This is something you actually care about doing. Passion. A lot of them, they want a strong why when they're asking certain questions. So depending on the recruiter, I know if it's like Closers IO, they're going to ask you what your why is for sure.
Okay.
Communication skills, meaning you're not stumbling over your words, you're not long-winded as well, but you're also not too short. It's like a nice sweet spot in the middle. It's more just you're sure of yourself. You're very sure of what you're saying. And the confidence piece, I would say, is the number one most massive part, because you need to be confident in what you're selling to perform well on a role. And what you're selling in that interview is your own skill set. So if there is hints of a lack of confidence in what you're selling, they won't buy, right? So that's, I guess, one of the main things. When it comes to interviews as well, for a recruiter, not so much, but if we're talking general interviews, you want to frame your answer of questions in a way that showcases why you're a good fit for whatever role you're being hired for. So you're pretty much trying to answer the big question within every question. Meaning if they say, what are your goals? What are you looking for right now? Some people would just say like some overarching things they're looking for a good role that has this, looking for a role like that. I'm looking to earn X. I'm looking to work remote. But a better answer would say, I'm looking for some of those things, these types of values, because these reasons. And when I looked at your company, this is where I saw that alignment. And that's why I think I'd be a great fit to work with you guys. Kind of like that conclusion piece that brings it all back to this is why I'm good for here, because interviewers have to do that conclusion themselves if you don't do it for them. Right.
Right.
Again, I don't want them to have to assume why I'm a good fit. I could just tell them, right? When they say, tell me about yourself. Well, this is a little bit about me. This is where I came from. It made sense for me to transition from here to here because of these reasons. I did love it there, but I did notice these are some things that I wanted to grow in. So then I transitioned from here to there. And then when I saw you guys, I loved XYZ about it. And that's why I decided to, apply here, because I think my passion for this, or my experience in this, or my history with this makes me a solid fit for this role in these ways. And that's why I'm here. Again, that conclusion piece that brings it all back to why I'm a good fit for this. So that way they don't have to say, okay, this is experience. This is who he is. Okay, let me guess in what way. Let me think what way he aligns with this. You just tell them what ways. You know what I mean?
Right.
So that's kind of just for interviews in general. Recruiters, again, they really want to see confidence. They really want to see passion. And I would, do you know, like, is it just a general interview? Do you know what they're interviewing for right now? Because what recruiters are trying to do is they're trying to see, is he a fit for any of the specific things I'm interviewing for right now? And depending on what that answer is, might change how you answer questions. Right. And so, yeah. Do you know what you're interviewing for?
Yeah, so specifically, I just got like a pretty short message from the company. It's going to be a skill test for an SDR position. They really gave me like 3 lines of text, so I don't know a lot more than that. I went to go and book it on their calendar, and the link wasn't showing any times until like May, so I just emailed back the recruiter. But I'll be sure to expand on that and just kind of dig into like specifically what skills would you guys like to see? How can I prepare for this? And just get a little bit more context from them for sure.
Yeah. I would like do some research, whether it's Google, ChatGPT. What are some of the things that sales managers struggle to get SDRs to do consistently? And then
Mm,
show up as the person that's more than willing to do those things.
I like
Because
that.
it
So just
just it comes across as like a breath of fresh air, you know what I mean? Because like, yeah, there's things that everyone will say I'm good at, I do, but things like CRM management, follow up, you know, all pipeline management, uh, nurturing with like SDR, if you're working with like a, more corporate kind of tech company, they want to see someone that's willing to do some of the more boring, monotonous work.
mhm.
uh, the exciting part is jumping on inbound sales calls, but actually doing your outreach consistently, whether it's cold calls, whether it's content to attract DMs to set people, whatever it is. Um, there's always going to be in every position some things that either whether it's SDR closers, whatever, are unwilling to do, and you can stand out a little bit by showcasing that you have skills in that area. So if it's a skill test, maybe talking about you being highly skilled in that. Um, Maybe looking up what typical SDR skill tests look like and obviously preparing for that. But the SDR role is all about setting appointments. It's all about getting in the door of places that haven't yet shown interest, but do have a need.
Mhm.
So a skill test would probably ask you questions and or have you provide ways to find, I guess, people that are decision makers, sourcing, list building, getting through receptionists if the company is more of like a dial establishments type of company. Again, these, what you prepare for and how you prepare will depend on what the sales process is for the company. If you could find out like what type of company it is or what the company is, even better, because then you can look up and see what their actual sales process is. But maybe
Right.
asking the recruiter will help as well.
Okay. Sounds great. Thank you.
No problem. What other questions we got?
Well, I'm actually coming from the same industry that James is, so you literally touched on the very thing that I needed as well. I had I was actually in a short sales cycle before real estate, so it's almost full circle for me, but never high ticket. It was always in person, and translating that from, I guess, optical and also design and real estate, and then putting it into this space has been quite a journey. It's really cool. So I really enjoy the what is it called? The application, that the process that you have. So it forced me to actually put the numbers into place, and it was just very enlightening. Now, I had I think I'm working on doing the application for an interview, and it's like a 3 call process. It looks like before it's closing, and it's a B2B with I think like a $25,000 offer, and that's new for me. So like to what you even told James, I think for him was SDR. Is that the same as like as a setter for appointments or someone that's qualifying leads?
Yeah, pretty much. It's like the corporate
Okay.
version, you know? Like
Okay.
account executives are like more corporate-y, more like salary based, usually maybe a little bit of cold outreach, but version of a closer. And then SDRs are
Okay.
that version of appointment setters.
Okay. So in a 3 call process, is that something that you're familiar with? When I was looking through, it looks like, the first call is more like maybe a form of introduction. The second call is like a follow-up, and the third call assumes to be a close. Still kind of fuzzy, but I'd assume that most closes happens within 1 call. At least that's the goal for just conversion ratio. But for
Yeah, I've been
B2B,
on offers. I've been on offers where there's 2 call closes, 1 call
okay,
closes. It depends on what you mean by 2 call close, because there's also ones that are considered 1 call close, but they're technically 2 call because there is a triage call before done by an appointment setter.
okay,
Um, when they say 1 call close in this industry, typically it means either the call came directly from advertising or the
okay,
call came, like they would still include calls that come from appointment setters that did a triage call and
okay,
sent it to a closer as a 1 call close. 2 call close is usually like the closer has the conversation, usually drops price, or just goes through the whole pitch and then sets up the follow-up call purposefully rather than just
okay,
trying to go for the close there.
okay.
But you rarely see that in B2C. It's usually like a B2B thing where it's like 2 call or more.
Okay. Well, I guess in the interview is something what I'll do that clarity piece on, because pulling up the email, it states about the call one is a discovery, call two is the insights and the fit, and then call three is the proposal and the close, which is kind of different from what I've seen in other arenas where the
Mhm.
discovery and the pitch all happen at the same time. Is
What
that
kind of offer is it?
so this is uh sales rep for Meridian Group, Drexel Morgan Advisors, uh,
Mhm.
remote performance-based role for high-profile clients, privately held businesses with 2 million to 10 million annual revenue. So
Yeah,
I
so
think this is
so that makes
BizOps.
sense when you're it's more of a B2B offer.
Okay.
Um, so in those cases, depending on whether you're talking to the size of the business matters too. Sometimes you're talking to people that the bigger the business, the more like okays they need from other people, you
Mm,
know. Smaller companies or B2C, obviously there's like the decision maker is the person you're speaking to usually, and they have full say in everything and they're not answering to anyone else. So as you go
mhm,
bigger, sometimes like I know in tech sales, sometimes they've got like 6-month sales cycles, right? So, and that's just
mm,
because you're getting so many people involved, and so many people have to green light it. And I'm assuming possibly with this offer, it might be because the people they're speaking to, the people that actually can say yes aren't usually the ones to take that initial discovery call. Or maybe there's just the complexity. I think it sounds like financial service. So with a service like that, there's probably a lot of numbers to weed through. So
okay.
spacing the topics out for clarity rather than having like an hour and a half call might make more sense.
Okay. Okay. Now with the close rate, I think based off of I guess their page on Rep Select, it says like a 15% close rate. Is that low for this industry for B2B, or is that typical?
Not necessarily. So the thing with close rate
Mhm,
is there's no like catch all good close rate. I've seen people make like a ton of money with a 10% close rate. And
mm,
I've seen
okay.
people make like make decent money with a 50 to 60% close rate because
Mhm,
there's so many other factors that matter. There's what your commission structure is, there's the deal size, there's I've seen people with a 10% close rate on a $100,000 product making 12% commission. You're still doing all right. You know what I mean?
mm,
Um, so don't look at close rate and then immediately be like, oh, if it's not 30 or 40, they suck, right?
okay.
There's a lot of factors in there.
I appreciate
I
that
mean,
because that's it.
standard, like across everything, it's like 20%, but then also
Mhm.
there's like niche specific stuff. This one could also, there's also stuff where like you close and you get an ongoing commission every month that they have the service. So if the close rate's a little lower, you're still making good money if you, and you're only selling a couple people a month anyway. So there's so many factors. I wouldn't just look at close rate.
Okay, I appreciate that because that's exactly what it. I was like, 15%. So, but no, thank you for that insight.
No problem. Any other questions? What else we got?
I got one more. You mentioned, I think, at a few points in the classroom that it'll definitely help your application if you just like shoot a DM to the recruiter on LinkedIn. Is
Mhm.
that specific to the part of the cycle, or what do you generally like to fit into that message?
Yeah, I would do it for every job I apply to. I mean, it's going to help you stand out so much. Every time I put out job posts, even for my own offers or when I manage teams, it was such a small percentage of people that actually reached out directly, and they usually got interviews just simply by the nature of how often I checked a Google sheet with the applicants versus how often I checked like my Instagram or LinkedIn DMs. You know what I mean? Just by
Mhm.
nature, and just not having a lot of people there. If I'm really looking for someone and you're right there and you look good, yeah, why not?
Okay.
But the process is usually, again, we want to make it as easy for them as possible. A lot of people, what they do with this is they reach out and they say, hey, I saw you're hiring. I'm looking for a role, or even worse, like, hey, are you hiring? I want to work with you, or here's my intro video. I want to work with you. Right. It's, if you have a great intro video, if you send your rep select profile and it's all filled out and it looks nice, you'll still land some interviews. But if you want to really make this message killer, make their job easy by not making them have to do the extra work. So if I were to actually ask you guys, if you were a recruiter or if you were a hiring manager or a sales manager, business owner, whatever, and someone reached out to you to apply for a role that you had, just by DMing you, what extra work would that make you have to do?
Well, I think number one, you'd have to look them up and see what they're about, if they'd even be a good fit for the role that you might have open. You know, try to evaluate their sales skills, try to evaluate if they're familiar with the industry, probably just stuff in line with that. So, like you kind of mentioned before, I think really just taking some of that homework and just answering those questions that they're going to bring up for them will put you ahead, right?
Absolutely. How much of a dream would it be if they said, "Hey James, saw your job post for XYZ role. Super interested in it. Looking forward to or I'm just super interested in it. Here's why I'm a good fit. Point one, point two, point three. Here's a little bit about me if you want to see like my intro video, role plays, all that stuff. Link to Repselect profile. What would be the best next steps? Oh yeah, also at this end, I would say I already submitted my application, because like do their process as well. Don't just like ignore it, because they might
Right.
just say, oh well, did you apply? Right. So I would say, hey James, saw your job application, job opportunity for XYZ thing. I went ahead and submitted my application. These are the reasons why I believe I'm a good fit. Point. Here's a link to my profile in case you want to check out my intro video and see more information about me. Looking forward to best next steps. Are you free for an interview this week, or free to chat this week or something? Right. And that way, what does it come down to? Well, it just comes down to if they believe your points. Like if their points are convincing enough, they'll probably interview you. Like
Right.
imagine if you're a recruiter and you read that and you're like, oh, that's actually a really good reason. You know, you're like, all right, I'll interview this guy. Like if you're actually looking to get interviews, you'd probably just interview the person, versus like James said, causing them to have to click your, even if you got an intro video or whatever, they've got to click into your profile, click your intro video, go through it all, point out your history, see if it aligns. And if got like 5 or 10 people doing that, they're probably just going to ignore it, you know? So that's why they have those questions. Like when you apply for a lot of roles, what does it say? It says, why are you a good fit? That's why. So imagine you're submitting that. They have that application where they've got a bunch of people that are answering this question for them that they can quickly skim through. And then you're sending them a message directly without answering the question. Our brains naturally default to what's easiest. So we're probably just going to ignore it and go check our thing, or we're going to respond and be like, hey, just send an application, and send them the link, or just ask them, hey, go apply. Did you apply yet? And go from there. So yeah, that's what I would do.
Cool. Would you still do that after like the first stage of a group interviews happened?
Um, after you've done the group interview with them, or you're just
Yeah.
saying like it's yeah. So after you've done the group interview with them, I actually have a video on interview follow up. It's in my how to pass interviews video, and towards the end of it, I go through like how to follow up at each stage. But just off the top, I would send a message thanking them for their time, stating something that I learned about them, and again, reinforcing because of these things that I learned. This is why I believe I'm a good fit. Looking forward to next steps.
Okay, perfect.
Because a lot of it's also just about standing out, like just being memorable.
Mhm.
You know, you don't want to be a blur in their mind. If they like remember you over and over again, they might be like, okay, yeah, he stood out, he's memorable. Let's give him a shot. He
Awesome.
did the extra work, right? And the thing about this stuff applies to any job, but it even more so applies to sales jobs that we're kind of looking at here, because we're doing is we're showcasing the traits that they would want to see in a sales rep. Wouldn't you want a sales rep that's willing to reach out on different platforms to attract their lead? Wouldn't you want a sales rep that is willing to try to sell in the DMs and doesn't just submit an application and wait? Wouldn't you want a sales rep that not only reach out on different platforms but follows up if they don't get a response from you after a couple days? You know what I mean? That's why I'd say one of the quickest ways to get an interview is to cold call businesses, you know, because they're like, you have the willingness to do this for a job. How are you going to treat my leads that actually are going to pay you? You know what I mean?
Totally.
So again, just think of it in that way and showcase the traits. And I think the best overarching way to think about it is this is not you looking for a job. You are an entrepreneur with a sales service that you're trying to sell. The interviews are your sales calls. The companies are your prospects, are your leads. So you do all the things that a business owner would do. You source leads, find companies that are that are most likely to buy the service, that have maybe shown an interest somewhere in the service. That's your sales, that's your outreach, and your marketing would be taking care of your brand and making sure your social media doesn't look crazy, maybe even talking about the niche that you want to work in. If I want to land a marketing offer, it'll be easier to land it if I post marketing content, not that I have to make videos and be an influencer, but if I'm just posting little insights, if I'm reposting articles and news about Facebook ads and marketing, if I showcase that I have an interest in marketing, plus every now and then I'm also talking about sales psychology, chances are it'll be easier to land a role, because business owners, when they see my profile, they see that I know what I'm talking about in these niches, that I'm not only knowledgeable in sales, but also knowledgeable in the niche that they sell in. So that's my like brand building and marketing as I would for my own company. My outreach is my direct sales, like I do for the company. Like I said, the interviews are the sales calls, and then delivering my service is just when I land an offer and now I'm selling. Right. And if you see yourself as an entrepreneur and you're always doing marketing, building your brand, always doing outreach to some degree, or at least engaging with people within your niche and your sector, you'll always have opportunities in front of you anytime you're ready to land a role.
All right. Thank you, man.
No problem. What other questions we got?
I had one. I wanted to know how you would handle this. So, let's say you're speaking with a prospect and at the end of it you sort of conclude that this person isn't qualified to enroll in the program. How do you handle that? Where do you go from there? Because I have no
You tell
experience
them.
in not qualifying them. Just straight up tell them
Yeah, tell them, hey, based off everything we went over, I don't think you'd be a good fit. And this is why.
after having gone through everything, just like that.
Well, I mean, you should, whenever you figure out that they're not a good fit, you end the call. Well, what else are you gonna do? Why would you sell someone that's not a good fit? You know what I mean?
Oh,
It's
are
like,
you thinking like initially when like right off the bat you can conclude that, or at the end of the call?
well, you shouldn't ever really be able to tell right off the bat unless they say something blatant. I mean,
Okay.
give me some examples. What do you mean?
So, like, okay, I was role playing earlier, and at the end of it, I realized that he's not financially qualifiable. Like, I couldn't enroll him because the money was too much for him to pay, and I tried to even split up the payments. He didn't have enough, and obviously, I'm not gonna try and put him in a situation like that.
Hmm.
So, I didn't know how to. I just sort of ended the role play right there. I didn't know how I was supposed to
Well, let me ask you this: what is your job as a sales professional?
To convert clients into paying.
Nope.
No, convert prospects into paying clients.
Nope.
I mean, that's one of them.
It's part of it, but what's your overarching role?
As a salesperson,
Yeah.
To help them.
I can think of many. I mean, roles
Well,
like
all of them are encompassed by helping them take actions towards the best next steps.
yeah.
That's your job. So, if I'm on the call, give me a product or service. What were you selling?
Your program for 5,000.
Okay. If I was selling sales training, right, or how to get into remote sales, and it was $5,000, which is not, by the way. But if I was selling that and I came across someone who genuinely could not afford it, what would I do? What should I do?
You let him know, right?
Yeah, let them know, but then what?
Help them come up with a plan to get the money.
Partly, yep.
Um, I would have a similar answer to Jarrell. I'm not so sure.
Well, that's what you do, right? You put them in the best situation to either to solve whatever the problem is. So if someone, like, again, it depends on the context of the conversation we had, but if someone's like, I need to do this, I want to do this, and they can't afford it, it's like, okay, well, here's the plan to where you could afford it, and if that's not in the cards for you at all, here's some of the things you could do to get it done using free resources. Right? You just give them a strategy, give them a plan, and then it's their job to go and execute. I've done that with people, gave them like a 6-month plan to save up money, a 3-month plan to save up money, and then they came back and then they joined the program. You know what I mean? It's like your goal is to help people, right? It's like if you're selling like a weight loss thing and they can't afford the program, then you give them some action items to go start losing weight even without the program. If you
Okay.
determine they're not a good fit, if you determine that you can't help them, but you have another company that might be better suited to them, then you point them towards the company that they're better suited towards, right? Like your goal is just to help people find the best next steps. You're there to serve, you know? You're not just there to sell or not sell, right? We don't want to be like, oh, well, you can't buy my thing, so that's the end of my help. See you later. You know what I mean?
Got it. Okay, that's helpful because I didn't think of it that way.
Yeah. I mean, that's because at the end of the day, if they can't buy, they still have the problem. Right?
Mm,
Like we act as if, well, it's either they buy or don't. It's like if they don't buy, they're still going to leave that call with the problem and needing a way to solve it. You did just go through a 20, 30, 40-minute discovery where they talked about their pain, their desires, how much this means to them. That doesn't all go away because you found out their bank account was empty. You know what I mean?
mhm.
Um, so again, if that's the reason, that's what I would do. Again, it depends on the reason why we're determining them not to be a good fit. But if it's a finance thing, we just like that's why I don't like that's why I even call it objection handling, or I just call it objection navigation. You're just helping them navigate what's going on. It's like, okay, you can't afford it. Do you still want to do it? So let's find out a way we can. And if there's no way we can, then let's find out what we can do to solve this problem otherwise, you know, because this is still a problem and it should be solved. And we just spent the last 30, 40 minutes talking about something that I should be providing some kind of solution is, because at the end of the day, you're the advisor, you're the expert in this thing, you know?
Mhm. Okay, that's
Makes sense?
gives me yeah, makes a lot of sense. A lot of
Yeah,
clarity
because
there.
like if we see ourselves, like if we're doctors diagnosing a problem and providing a solution, like I'm sure, I mean, in Canada the healthcare is free, but I'm sure in the States, if you know, couldn't pay for whatever medication, wouldn't the doctor provide others alternatives?
Yeah,
Like he would say, well, it's not as good as just getting the medication, but try this and try this and try this if you can't afford it. You know what I mean? Like they'd provide alternatives.
got it.
You know, like what doctor would say, you can't buy the medication? All right, get out of my office. You know?
Mhm, mhm.
So that's how I see it, at least. I get, again, that's not everyone's sales ideology. I mean,
No,
I'm not going to
that's
tell you it's the way to do it, but in my sense, that's the only way I would go about it, you know?
mhm. I've heard of the it's like the doctor's frame, right? You just have that perspective on in the call, and I mean, you described it perfectly. So it makes sense. It makes a lot of sense.
Cool.
Thank you.
No problem. What else we got? A lot of questions?
I think that's it for me for right now, but thank you so much for your time. Great to meet you. And yeah, thanks for putting together the community.
No problem. Glad I could help. Feel free to ask any questions in the community as well. SJ, anything from you, man? Are you good to go as well?
Oh, I'm good to go.
Sweet. Well, I guess we can pack it up early, guys. Hopefully this was helpful. I will drop the recording in the community, and I'll see you guys either Wednesday if you're in the Closer College. If not, I'll see you again Monday.
Sounds
Thank
great.
you very much.
See you later.
Thanks, Ty.
Cheers.